Hello and welcome to Landscape Photography World, the podcast for everyone passionate about landscape photography. I'm Grant Swinburne and I'll be your host on this show, talking to landscape photographers about their motivations, likes and dislikes. Originally from just outside New York City, Mike Poggioli came to see photography as a serious creative outlet when he moved to Chicago in 2015 and became enamored by the beauty of the city's architecture. Photography became an opportunity to cultivate mindfulness, a way to see the world with a beginner's mind in both his personal and professional life. It wasn't until he began a clinical internship in Asheville, North Carolina, that he ventured into natural landscape photography. During his time there, Mike discovered a passion for capturing the layers of the Blue Ridge Mountains. He's since listened to the call of the mountains by deciding to settle in Asheville. We discuss his new book, Blue Ridge Dreaming, published by Trope Publishing Co, how he came to shift from architecture to natural landscapes, and much, much more. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, Mike. Welcome to Landscape Photography World. How are you going?
I'm doing well, thanks. Good talking with you, Grant.
Yeah, great to see you and great to meet you kind of face to face. It's across the world, which is sometimes challenging, but so far the podcast, every episode I've done so far has been done via Zoom, and it works pretty well most of the time.
Yeah, very nice. I realize I didn't ask where you're based out of.
Yep, I'm in Sydney, Australia, and you're from?
I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay. So how far from the East Coast are you?
So I'm on the complete western corner of North Carolina. So it's
Okay.
it's a long state. So it's about 7 to 8 hours of a drive to the actual coast.
Yeah, right. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So talk to me a bit about why you got started in photography and what your sort of earliest formative steps into landscape photography were.
Yeah, so actually, I kind of started in 2015. I was a teacher, elementary school teacher, and in Chicago, and I
Right.
was taking the L for my commute every morning, every evening back home, and I've always loved architecture, and um, just taking the L train was really I always thought of it as a built-in, you get an architecture tour
Mm-hmm.
every morning and evening going through downtown. So I literally would just start stepping out of the the train stops and just take my iPhone out and just started taking pictures with my phone.
Cool.
And then I realized there was a photography community kind of on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Started realizing wait a second, I'm not the only one who likes doing this. um, who just sits by a train waiting for it to come by.
Yep.
And just started kind of going out with
Cool.
people, meeting people, and that's kind of where it started.
Nice. Nice. So I guess one of the key things I like to ask is what is it that's actually motivating you creatively, and what is it that you're chasing in your photography?
Oh man, that's a great question. um, it's interesting to think about that, to kind of actually put it to words. um, I think, gosh, I think one of the things that stuck out to me, especially at first, just about photography and what I feel like I was chasing, was really harsh light. Just
Mm-hmm.
it was really cool in the city, these slivers, especially in um like the hour after sunrise, the hour before sunset.
Yep.
It's really warm, harsh light kind of streaming through the buildings. And so kind of started like that, and I think it kind of turned into just other forms of light. I've always liked the orange street lamps Chicago's known for.
Yep.
You kind of see that grid, the orange grid at night. So kind of went to that. And yeah, so I guess, yeah, just light, catching good light, that good warm light. And I think I still am chasing it. I know I've kind of moved to a completely different landscape, just the Blue Ridge Mountains, in 2019, but still find myself chasing that light, that sunrise light, kind of, instead of coming through the buildings, it's now coming through the mountains.
Nice. Yeah.
So I think that's, I'm sure there's a ton of other things about photography I think I could go to great lengths about, but that inspire me. But I think it's really been just that light, how the light kind of hits things, and especially the warm light, like finding like just bursts of warm light.
Yep.
That's it.
Great. So what prompted the move from Chicago to where you are now, to Asheville?
Also, yeah. So yeah, I said I was teaching, and then I pretty much realized teaching. I'm pretty far into, there's like extroverted and introverted.
Yep.
I'm pretty far on the introverted scale, that pretty far down on that side. And just teaching was, I loved working with kids and teaching, and it was very rewarding, but it was just so draining.
Yeah.
I thought there's got to be a better way to, to help people grow, I guess, but do it in a way that doesn't leave me just feeling so depleted at the end of the day, end of the week. So applied to psychology programs, clinical psychology programs, and actually ended up in Cincinnati, Ohio, of all places, for my doctorate program. So that was about 4 years. So that was in between Chicago and Asheville.
Right.
And so Cincinnati was pretty cool. It was like this post-industrial kind of city in the Midwest.
Yep.
Right along the Ohio River, and it was really quite a cool city, and I kind of caught it in the middle of it, just building back up. But anyway, I ended up getting matched at the Asheville VA hospital, working with veterans for my clinical psychology internship. So it was like, okay, I'm guess I'm moving to the mountains. Yeah, and it was completely new. I've never been in that rural of a place. I've never lived in that rural of a place.
Yep.
I grew up outside New York City, then moved to Chicago, then Cincinnati. So always cities.
Big cities, yeah.
Big cities, yeah. But yeah, it was that's what kind of prompted the move, and well, obviously I fell in love with it, and I'm still here.
Cool. Okay. So you're still working in the psychology field, or are you now shifting more to your photography? Where are you, I guess, in your work-life balance with photography and everything else?
Yeah, that's I think a good question. That work-life balance has always kind of been changing. It's been an interesting balance to strike. But so I still am, I'm practicing psychology as a clinical psychologist full time now. So I actually just got licensed last October, so not even a year.
Right.
Did the internship and then had to do like a fellowship year of training. So yeah, I sadly have kind of had to put more of my time and energy into just building my practice
Yep.
up in psychology and kind of, staying afloat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Um, so that's been interesting, being a student and an intern and like a fellow. Um, it was kind of nice because I had a bit more flexibility, a bit less responsibility,
Yep.
and so just would jump at any opportunity to get out and shoot, pretty much. So um, yeah, so the past year actually it's the least active I've been in terms of creating.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely feel that. I definitely, I don't know, my soul feels that. It's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
you gotta get back into it. Um, and I will. I'm looking forward to it, but for now, it has been I have had to kind of put a little bit more of my focus into my my practice.
Sure. Sure. That said, you've got a book that you've put together. Can you talk to me a little bit about how the concept for that book came about, and how did that formulate, and what are you doing, I guess, about getting that out there, and where are you at in that stage? Is it released? Is it still in the works?
Yeah, so it's coming out in October, so very soon. With that timing has been kind of intentional. Lots of it's heavy on the fall, the autumn kind of
Mm-hmm.
scenery. So just in time for first day of fall is tomorrow, which I love. So very excited. So it's coming out soon. Um, And really, kind of how it started was I had been actually working with Trope, the publishing company.
Yep.
They've been doing some uh, city series books. So I think it's kind of a cool concept. They reach out to local photographers in like Chicago or New York, say, hey, we love your photos. Can we kind of put them into this book? So it's this
Sure.
big collection that's shared amongst all these photographers with different visions, different eyes. So I had worked with them on I contributed a little to their Chicago book and then the New York City book, and then so I know Sam is one of the guys kind of leading the way there, and
Mm-hmm.
we have kind of gotten close, and I moved to Asheville, and he was like, Mike, you're posting these landscape pictures on Instagram. Like, what's going on?
They're
You're
not
the
architecture. Yeah.
yeah, where's the architecture? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just seeing where this goes. I'm just gonna commit to mountains and the whole new kind of landscape photography. And he's like, okay, well, we'll see. And about a year later, he kind of just said he came back and said, Mike, you really, I didn't think you really had it in you. You're really stuck with this landscape thing. I think we may have a book here. What do you think? And so we just kind of tossed some ideas around, and that's you know it's been like a kind of a work in progress the last couple of years,
Yep.
selecting the photos, things like that, and finally it's ready. It's ready to go.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, how did the process of deciding to create the book shape, if any way, what you were doing in the field and with your processing? Was there any link between, okay, I'm going to do this book, I need more content, or were you just relying on existing stuff and you might have processed it differently?
Yeah, so most of it had already been captured, so it's pretty true to like it's pretty true to who I am and
Mm-hmm.
what I really have come to love about shooting in the mountains. So just, I guess, kind of going back to a question you asked, what inspires me, what am I chasing? In addition to light, I discovered the beauty of the cloud inversion. So
Mm-hmm.
just these foggy layers, um, just kind of wrapping themselves around the layers of the mountains.
Yep.
And then when you get some nice warm sunrise light, sunset light kind of shining through, it's just like beautiful, perfect. So I kind of got into the habit of just chasing that sunrises. Every weekend, just would kind of drive up the Blue Ridge Parkway and find a new overlook to shoot from, and just gathered just a ton of, like, a big database, I
Yep.
guess.
Yep.
And so there's already kind of a lot to work with. And then I do love autumn. So I did know when we were really trying to get things together, even as far back as, yeah, last year, last summer, last fall, I did know it's like, okay, I have this bucket list of shots, and it didn't affect how I shot or where I shot, but it did affect my motivation to
Right.
really, like,
Yep.
be like, I got to get to this spot.
Yep.
I've been thinking about it, but I really got to get it because I want it. I got to put it in the book.
Sure. Sure.
So so yeah, it's kind of like it has shaped it, kind of, but not. Something that's been nice is, I didn't do this for the book, so to speak.
Yeah.
The
Right.
photos were
Right.
there. The book just kind of captures what I love about photography here in Asheville.
Yeah. So, talk to me a bit about Asheville and what it's actually like for those that don't know that part of the world. Obviously, there's mountains. I assume there's some forests and stuff. Talk to me about what it's like. What kind of trees you got. What are you actually shooting around that area?
Yeah, so Asheville is this cool little. It's been called the Portland of the South.
Nice.
So it's pretty eclectic. A lot of hippies.
Yep. Yep.
Very, very, this progressive little kind of gem in the South. It's I think it's like maybe 90,000 people
Okay.
population. There's a when you kind of drive in, there's a water tower, and on graffitied onto it, but it's not graffitied. It's graffiti art. It's very, very
Yep.
nice. It says like something like "Stay Weird" or something. Asheville, stay weird, which I think perfectly sums the vibe up.
Right.
Big art scene, a lot of pottery, and that kind of like earthenware, kind of
Yeah, sure.
really, really talented painters, and a really nice art community. So something I also really kind of gravitated towards.
Nice.
Um, it's also known as the beer capital of the US. So it
That's a
has
good
the
thing.
most, always a good thing. It has the most breweries per capita
Wow.
of any city in the country, which is not a bad thing at all.
Nothing wrong with a bit of craft beer.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a great place to just, on the weekend, you go on a hike, come back, go to a brewery. A lot of cool, like, food trucks too that go to the breweries. And um, let's see, there's the Pisgah National Forest, which
Mm-hmm.
which I think is really, I'd never heard of it. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. Before I moved here, I could not have even told you where it was on the map.
Right.
So it's been kind of a discovery kind of process for me. And so the Pisgah National Forest is really been a, you know, kind of a surprise. You know, you hear of all these big national forests out west,
Yep.
but never really kind of realized there are other national forests that are really cool. And also the the Smoky Mountain National Park is just about like 45 minutes away.
Right.
So that's kind of a cool little perk there. It's like so close.
Mm.
But yeah, I think Asheville is it's great for just outdoor activities, and a lot of bachelorette parties come here
Okay.
too. So it's really a interesting mix of people, perspectives, and so something I really like about it.
Sounds very cool. Sounds like it's also shaped how you shoot to a certain degree. And I'm always interested in that link between location and technique, and not just technique, but also subject. Because clearly if you're going to shoot, say, waterfalls, that denotes a certain technique. If you're going to shoot in, cloud inversions, that's got techniques in itself. So how do you feel where you're living has shaped your style? Obviously vastly different to what you were doing with your architecture stuff in the city. So talk to me a bit about how that style has developed because of where you live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the city, like street photography, um, I'd always kind of have a pretty fast shutter speed and just be like kind of clicking all over the place.
Yep.
As people are crossing the street, trains are passing by, trying to get that like perfect alignment. So it was actually pretty fast paced. I think one of the biggest things here is the mountains don't move, the waterfalls don't move, and so I've been bringing my tripod a lot more.
Yep.
So that it's definitely been a change of pace, which has been, I kind of have to remind myself, like, okay, Mike, bring your tripod.
Yep.
For the waterfalls, and it's so a little bit stepping out of that, just okay, this handheld mentality, I guess. Shooting from the hip, I guess you could say, that approach.
Yeah.
And but it has opened, it's definitely opened me up to, I've had to just different considerations for just learning, and I still am learning just, tricks of getting a good waterfall shot. Having the patience to find that setup, and then be willing to, like, once you've got it set up, just to like undo everything just to shift it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so still am wanting to, continue growing. Like, I know there's a lot of astrophotography opportunities here, and I haven't even gotten into that. So
yeah.
a whole new world, but looking forward to at some point getting into it.
Fantastic. So when did photography start to feel like you were creating art as opposed to recording what you saw?
Gosh, it's hard to say, but
for some people it's kind of a hard click. For others it's more of a gradual process, and they realize all of a sudden, oh, I'm actually producing art.
I to be honest, I think I don't know, but sometimes I even have a hard time calling my work art, which I
Okay.
guess is maybe my own like self-confidence. But I'd say like the time the maybe the moment I felt like I was creating something unique and more, I felt like really represented like what I wanted to depict.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. I'd say, maybe just several years ago, I kind of developed my own editing style, and so really kind of had been playing around with like uh, how I edited in Lightroom,
Yep.
and started to really try to find this balance in my photos between like these darker blue tone kind of tones with these more like warm bursts of orange.
Yep. Yep.
So I think I guess you could say, when I started to hear back from people, uh, they would say comments like, Mike, I knew that was your photo, like before I even saw your name attached to it,
Yep.
which was a pretty kind of cool feeling. Like, okay, that's feeling like, there is this sense of a like a signature that you kind of put on
Yeah. Yeah.
without the watermark. So I guess that would be it.
Yeah. Are you going into the field with a concept in mind, or are you reacting to the landscape? Because some people are more considered shooters of, I guess, what they're presented in front of them, whilst others are going in there and there's sometimes months of planning going into a shoot before they actually turn up and do something. So what kind of shooter are you? Are you a planner or a more spontaneous type?
I'd say somewhere in the middle. I have, you know, tried to, well, when I first started out, it was just pretty spontaneous, like just go out, roam the streets of Chicago and
Yep.
um, see what happens, see what I get. Um, and it was kind of similar here in Asheville, just kind of use it as an opportunity to explore. Like, I think that's one of the things I love about photography is you can kind of take it anywhere you go, and it's a great way to just explore your surroundings, go to places I may never have gone before.
Mm, mm.
So in the past, maybe the past year, as I've started to exhaust my like favorite go-to spontaneous spots, I have been making more lists, doing more research, like looking up, there's this, I found like the site, I think it's mountainforecast.com has
Yep. Okay.
really good weather predictions for those higher peaks.
Yep.
So starting to kind of rely more on that, and then certain apps to just see, okay, what angle is the light going to be coming in, and then Google Earth, and yeah. So I have been doing more research, um, as of late, and trying to just be more intentional, just overall.
Sure. Sure.
I think just coming to appreciate, how much you could put into a single image.
Mm.
It's almost like so much can be put into it, and like it can be easy to just overlook how much planning goes into one photo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I've really am becoming to appreciate that. So I'd say, like, yeah, to answer your question, it's kind of been a gradual lean towards being more and more planful.
Yep. Yep.
Um, uh, but I like to keep a little bit of spontaneity in there too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the light changes and you look to your left or your right and you go, oh, that's the shot.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that you came there to shoot something that was that you'd lined up and you were set to shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you really never know until you're there.
A question that I've been asked to ask photographers is, how do you feel when you're out in the field shooting?
So yeah, that I think I really feel like truly like it's one of the few times I really feel like at peace, to be perfectly honest. It's like people talk about that sense of flow, like a flow state where you're
Yep.
completely one with the whatever you're doing, whether it's like cooking or drumming or
Yep.
shooting. So that's
Yeah,
I
the
think
process
that's
takes over. Yeah.
exactly. And really feeling like I'm in it. I'm immersed in it. And so I'd say, yeah, that sense of peace, it's a very kind of mindful kind of time, and just a very well, actually, now that I think about it, I was gonna say it's very calm, but there are some times where, I'm the light of the sunset is just, it's minutes away from going
Mm-hmm.
down. And it just like all of a sudden just like looks amazing. And I know in the back of my head I have, you know, 3 minutes before it goes down, and I have
Yep.
to try to get as much as I can in.
Mm.
So sometimes it's calming, like especially on sunrise, like a sunrise, but other times it can be like I'll notice like my heart is pounding.
Yep.
But I think it just goes to that, like it just feels like I'm immersed in in it.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. There's been a few times where I've noticed the light change, and the subject has actually changed because of that. And I've gone, I don't have enough time to change lenses, and I really should
Yeah.
change lenses. What
Yeah.
do I do? Do I? Don't I?
Right. Yeah, it's like these split.
The panic
You have to
sets in then.
that's there's a good word, panic. Yeah, in the best way.
How do you feel, I guess, when you're in that state and you realize, okay, well, I'm not quite set up the way that I should be, and that panic grips you? Are you okay, deep breath, take the plunge and make the change, or do you just go with what you got and hope for the best?
Oh man, I'd say it. I'd say it really depends. There have there have been times where, um, yeah, I've like had my setup on one side of like a mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and I just have to I literally take it off and I leave my stuff, the tripod, and I like run to the other side. Um, and it is helpful that my like the lens I use is, I think it's a 25 to 70.
Yep.
Uh, so it so
Gives you a
having
lot of
that, like,
flexibility. Yeah.
yeah, I can't tell you how much I love that lens just for the flexibility. So thankfully that kind of has saved me from some of those instances. But if I feel like I haven't gotten the shot, actually I don't think I've gotten to that point. I think I really try to keep myself open.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever left like gotten in my car to go home and said like, man, I had this sense of regret, because
Yeah.
um, I think I've put like, I think that's one of the beauties of photography is like finding the beauty where you can,
Yep.
making the most of it. And yeah, so I think um, yeah, it's kind of like the mindset I think I've noticed I've kind of taken in with me.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you sorry, how do you define success in your photography?
Ooh, um, that's a good question, because I think I'm very mindful of that, because I know it's not, and this has actually been a struggle of mine, which is, people have asked, Mike, have you thought about doing photography full time? just kind of going off of that, making that, if that's really your passion, then why not? And I have been a little nervous about that, because if I attach any monetary expectation to it, I get nervous about what would happen
Yeah.
to that. So for me, I guess for me, and I say that because I know that's a different approach for maybe other photographers and other creators in different situations who are doing it full time. But for me, I think it's I think I made like a pact with myself. Like, I will not take pictures of things that I don't really feel something for.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that, it was a moment where I really felt connected to,
Yep.
and I kind of put myself in the process and the editing. Um, and I mean, it is nice to share it with others, and
Absolutely.
and to for them to give positive feedback. But really, I think the success has been being true to my own vision. And I don't know if I could put a price on like doing anything otherwise.
Sure. Do you have a favorite spot that just keeps calling you back? Is there somewhere that, either, and it could be you haven't nailed it, or you feel you haven't nailed it, or it's just so good and repeatedly so good that you've just got to keep going back?
Mm-hmm. I'd say there's this overlook on the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Looking Glass Rock Overlook, and it overlooks this rock called Looking Glass Rock. And it's kind of cool because it it's not quite the same. So the history of it is, it's this old, like, I guess, million or billion year old, like, remnant of this underwater volcanic eruption.
Sure.
And because of it's called a Pluton or Pluton, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's harder than the other sediment kind of around it, that
Yep.
what the other mountain ranges around it are built out of. And so
Yep.
um, there's this big dome looking rock. It actually looks like a beached whale. And then around it is just this, like, it kind of flattens out. So you can kind of
Yeah.
see,
Right.
Millions of years of erosion have whittled these mountaintops around it down,
Yep.
but this rock has stayed there.
Yep.
I don't know why. I don't know, maybe if I should have been a geologist, but I think that's so cool.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. The way the light hits it in the morning, and then when you get like fog kind of around it.
Yep.
And so something about it, I just think it's like you're viewing this like ancient history,
Mm.
and it's so unique. So I go back to that, and I still am trying to chase like the perfect cloud inversion formation around it. I still haven't gotten it. I've seen pictures, so I know it's possible, but I think that's what kind of keeps me
Just got to
going.
wait for the right conditions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what about your most memorable experience that you've had out shooting?
Um, Most memorable.
And it could be
Gosh.
good or bad. The bads are sometimes
Well,
more interesting.
that's true. I can definitely say a not so great one. Before I found out about mountainforecast.com, went up to, so there's a really cool place. Actually, maybe that would have been my second choice of places I go back to.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Linville Gorge. Its nickname is the Grand Canyon of the South.
Okay.
So it's this really cool kind of like gorge, and you can hike up different edges of it. so I went and saw this cool cloud formation in the distance. Thought, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna take some pictures of that. And it kept coming closer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a second, that's not so cool anymore. So it was like this, it was basically a big storm cloud, and I
Yep.
was exposed on the top of this like peak. And then started to see some lightning, and I knew I made a big mistake. So I uh, found this rock formation to like crawl under,
Mm-hmm.
like this mini cave, and just hung out there. And this I thought it was just going to blow over. This was 2 summers ago, which when there's a lot of thunderstorms. So
Sure.
learned a lot from since then. But it literally poured and was lightning and thundering for like almost a straight hour. I didn't even think like thunderstorms could last that long
Yeah.
up there. But yeah, so I was soaked, but you know, felt grateful I was safe, and I learned some important lessons from that.
Well, that's another question, I guess. What have you learned through the practice of photography? What's that taught you about the world?
Oh gosh, I'd say so. A lot of things. Um, you know, photography for me has been a great way to practice mindfulness, and I bring a lot of mindfulness into my own like clinical work with my clients. So it's been a really great way for me to kind of practice what I preach, and really really be present with myself and with what's around me.
Yep.
Like be mindful of the judgments my mind makes, like, oh, that's not good enough, that's, comparing myself with others. And um yeah, just kind of observing those as thoughts
Yep.
that I don't have to buy into necessarily. I can choose, if I want to buy into them or not, if they're helpful for me or not.
Yep. Yep.
So that's been actually, for me, just it's been a great way for me to just kind of practice mindfulness, the very thing I kind of help others practice. So
Mm. Mm.
I say there's that, and then um, also just the I've learned that there are lots of really cool photographers out there, and it's really awesome to just know that there are people who share the same hobby, the same love for just capturing what they think is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so that's something that's been, I've gotten to meet so many photographers, and they're just like, they're awesome photographers, and they're even more awesome people.
Yeah.
So that there's this community. It feels like there's this, like, wherever you go, there's like this photography community that is just so inviting, and like willing to just shoot around with you if you want. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's going from living in, growing up in New York City. I've seen it there, Chicago, Cincinnati, now Asheville. So
Sure.
that's been really cool to learn about too.
Mm. I guess I want to touch a little bit on that link between your psychology work and photography and that mindfulness that you mentioned.
Mhm.
Is it something that you recommend to some of your clients, or is it something that you know, have just used personally for your own mindfulness?
Yeah, it's something I'll kind of I have recommended it a few times. Um, and a dream of mine actually is, as I'm building my practice, once I feel like I'm in a stable place, a dream of mine has been to host like mindful photography
Mm-hmm.
groups and classes, and aimed at that very thing. So that that's something that, I definitely see down the pipeline, because I think it is so ripe for just teaching the practice of mindfulness. I think
Mm.
there are just so many parallels to, just going out and just kind of being open to whatever the scene in front of you kind of has.
Yeah, yeah.
Even practicing um this, that I always think it's interesting, the difference between seeing what's in front of you versus
Hmm.
like looking for the photo.
Yep.
So instead of that, like trying to put your own expectations on the photo, it's a I'll try to practice like letting the photo find me, for example.
Yep.
I think there are some good parallels to life there, with, when someone's dealing with something really difficult, just having trouble maybe accepting a stressful change in their
Mm.
life. So I think that, yeah, there's so many parallels there, and it is a dream of mine to do mindful photography classes.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that'd be a wonderful thing to see happen. I was talking last week to Sapna Reddy. She's also a physician, and one of the things
Oh,
that
cool.
she's doing is working with hospitals and clinics and so forth in putting relaxing art and relaxing photography into some of those, into the decor of some of those buildings and whatever, to help people that are having a stressful time deal with that stress.
Hmm.
Pardon me. And I think one of the things that the is kind of undervalued, and probably social media doesn't necessarily help this, is the potential therapeutic value of photography. Have you ever looked into any of that?
Yeah, that is interesting. I haven't really looked into this, but something that I've found to be nice about the veteran VA, so the Veterans Hospital system here. I've worked at the one in Cincinnati and Asheville and Salem, Virginia, and they all have tons of big photography, big photographs,
Yep.
and they keep it pretty local. So I think that's something I really appreciate. I think it's a huge part, and a big part of my practice is I have a focus on health psychology and
Yep.
the connection of mind and body, and you know being connected, feeling connected with beauty, or just with nature. I mean, that gives so many people just even the sense of, yeah, connectedness, motivation to take care of themselves even.
Mm,
And
mm.
um I mean, beyond just mood boosting, I think it runs even deeper. So down to like just our core sense of meaning,
Yep.
So I think just art, the just from the hanging of pictures to even offering, art classes in hospitals, that actually would, yeah, that'd be something that I would love to do, on the psychology side, and
Yeah. Yeah.
being able to work with with patients who, going through, yeah, maybe a really difficult medical diagnosis, coping with cancer or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be so powerful.
Definitely. Definitely. I want to talk a little bit about the process now. What's your planning process like for going out on a shoot? Are spending weeks, months, hours, minutes? What does planning look like for Mike?
Oh man. Sometimes it's the night before. I have this list I just have a list. Maybe I'll see another friend will say, oh, I was at this place, or I try to stay, I haven't been posting as much or creating as much, but I still try to stay in touch with like the community on Instagram and even on Facebook. So, I'll see someone post a photo and the spot looks cool, so I just add it to my list of places to go.
Yep.
I'll look at the map. So I have like on Google Maps, my map is like completely covered with stars, places I've saved. So sometimes I'll pick a spot. I'm like, okay, this this is good this time of year, and then I'll be able to see like, oh, I starred this, which is like 15 minutes away. So I'll go there. I can kind of bundle these places together. I'd say like the planning would be maybe not months in advance, but maybe so for example, for autumn,
Yep.
I've got my document all filled up. I've got the dates of like where I want to go.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely kind of narrowing down like, okay, I want to mix it up with going to some of my favorite spots that I know, some new spots that I've never been to but know are beautiful. So I'd say I've been working on that for the past month, just getting ready for once the leaves start to change. So yeah, if it's summer, I struggle with editing greens. Like the green colors, they don't fit my color palette as well. So
yeah,
usually I'll go out. If I go out, then it's just a more spontaneous. I need to get out of the house. I need to just go up and shoot. But when it comes to like the fall, yeah, maybe I've been planning for maybe like a little over a month ahead of time.
Yeah, right.
What's going to happen each weekend?
Yeah.
Aligning it with where the colors change and that elevation, whether it's going to be sunrise or sunset, those types of things.
Yeah. So you've arrived on site and you've sort of decided, okay, well, this is the place that I want to shoot. Are you straight into what your concept was and you aim for that, or are you more contemplative, looking around and potentially looking for other things before you go and hit the high note you were looking for?
I'd say I guess I do have I'd say I have like a set of criteria that I'm looking for a spot.
Yep.
Usually it'll be some kind of clearing with a good kind of overlook. That's usually it's going to be facing. I usually go at sunset or sunrise, so it's going to be facing one of those. And if I haven't been there before, what I'll try to do is maybe do like a day hike there, just kind of for fun, just to scout things out a bit. But when it comes to like, especially sunrise, because you have to wake up so dang early.
Yep.
I'm just like, all right, just gotta wake up, drive there, and try to have like, this is how long it'll take to hike, and this is where I want to go. And once the sun comes up, I'm going to start, kind of shooting, or before, but once there's that like kind of peak light.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, with sunset might be a little bit different. I feel like I have a bit more time sometimes, and we'll just kind of mosey around and take more liberties to just look at
do you do much scouting of locations before you hit them up? So I mean, obviously there's some places where you go and it could be a bit sketchy walking in there, for example. You don't really want to do that for the first time at night because
Yeah. Yeah, especially in the dark.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it like you said, I think it depends, but for the most part, I love hiking, and you know, my partner and I love hiking, and our dog loves just being active. So if there's a spot, I'll maybe selfishly say, "Hey, let's go to this spot and hike, and just see what it's like."
She knows what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, she's caught on pretty quick, but usually it's nice because it makes for a nice reward at the end of the hike. You get a nice view.
Sure.
So yeah, that's kind of like the process, the balance that I've gotten into. I kind of will try to hike it first in the daytime with people,
Yep.
and just make sure it's not super sketchy, or
Yeah.
a bridge is down, or something very dangerous.
Sure. Do you prefer photographing alone or with other people?
that's that's kind of always been a little tricky, I feel like um
It's always
I
hard to
think,
coordinate someone else's schedule with your own, and where and what you want to shoot.
yes, exactly. Yeah, so I feel like there's pros and cons. I think if I'm really being honest with myself, I mentioned if I'm being honest with myself, I'm pretty introverted, and
Yep.
so that it's there's definitely something I really love about just kind of shooting by myself. Um, just kind of just yeah, like you said, you're not as tied to like someone else's schedule, or
Mm.
what they want to shoot. Um, I think it helps to be more spontaneous too, because sometimes I'll have a plan and I'll see a good spot on the way and just pull over and
Yeah.
completely change the plan. And um, so, and but at the same time, I really enjoy, and that's one of the things that got me into photography, is just sharing that process with others. So
Mm.
I think it's finding a balance. Like I wouldn't want to do it alone all the time, but I do value it
Yeah. Sure.
by myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Makes total sense. What about when you get home? You straight into editing, or are you leaving it on the card for a while and let it ferment for a bit before you get into it?
So the past year or so, it's almost like I've had to choose, like going out and shooting, and then there's only so much time to do that versus taking that time to sift through the pictures, pick the
Yep.
right one, edit it. And I've really chosen, almost every time I've chosen to go out, just because I really
Sure.
value being out there. And honestly, most of my practice right now is therapy over Zoom. So I stare at the screen pretty much all day,
Hmm.
and
Last thing
um,
you want to do is dive into processing at the end, I guess.
yeah, exactly. So I will say that the past year I've gone out, a handful of times, and I that it's still sitting on the external hard drive. Um, I'll go through it occasionally and flag a few things I like, but
Sure.
um, you know, so I get home, the first thing I do is upload them, because I might forget or lose the card,
Yeah.
or
Back up.
gotta keep it safe at least. You never know with me. Um, so at least I know it's safe. And then maybe before I started practicing, it would be like I'd be so excited, and I still am. I'd be so excited. I'd get home and upload them, and just I couldn't wait to start kind of sifting through and editing a few. And so So it's changed, which I think it's okay. It's just how things are, but it has been a little different lately.
Mm. Do you print much of your work?
Not really. I I just started offering prints through with Trope, the
Sure.
publisher that's doing the book.
Hmm.
So kind of curated just a handful. We called it like the Blue Ridge collection.
Yep.
So those are available just as of the past year or so. Um, and yeah, I've seen them and printed out and really big, and it's quite satisfying actually. But
Definitely.
before then, I was just doing like a little smug mug website, and
Sure, sure.
so like some smaller prints as people demanded or as people requested, but yeah, not since recently. And something to kind of think about. It, I haven't seen the book itself, you know, in person, so I'm really excited to see what that collection looks like just on
Mm.
paper, all together. So
Yeah, yeah.
something very
I mean,
satisfying about
I think it has a very different feel to looking at it on a screen. That physical, tangible print is, particularly when it's in a high quality book. I don't think there's anything better.
yeah, yeah, that tangible, like you can actually like touch it. It feels real.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you ever hit a creative wall? And if so, how did you handle it?
Hmm. Um, I've definitely to, to the short answer, definitely. Um, I think I hit them. I could say like when I moved from Chicago to Cincinnati, I
Hmm.
think I hit one just because I was still trying to figure out what the city was about, and
Yep.
um, kind of just gave myself some time. And yeah, I think it's a weird place to be in. So I like you find yourself, I find myself like going through old pictures, maybe out of nostalgia, and posting those or re-editing them. um, and then I think I hit one when I came to Asheville too. I mean, wasn't really sure. Okay, like how does, what's my vision here?
Yeah, yeah.
What am I looking for here? This is a completely different landscape, a completely different um, scene. And um, yeah, to be perfectly honest, I feel like I'm still not sure, where I'm at. Maybe
Okay.
it's just because of the, you know, again, I hate to say it, but just having to have put so much of my time into my clinical work. Um, I'm not sure if I've really let my, but I'll say this. I feel like there may still be some developments like art creatively
Yep.
that could happen in my photography in Asheville, that I would just I think I just need to give myself a bit more time just out there
Yeah.
shooting
Yeah.
to discover what that might be like. Um, I guess I wonder if that's kind of like part of the process for maybe if that never change, that idea never stops, like you never fully feel like you're there. But
Yeah. To be honest, I think if you have got to a point where you don't see growth, you've kind of got to the end of your photography career, as far as
yeah,
I can see, because
might as
it's
well
kind of
just
like, okay, where do I go from here? Yeah, I can't do
yeah lay
anything better, or so forth. But I
Yeah.
haven't met a photographer that's felt that way yet.
Mhm. Yeah. And I guess that's a really good point. Like, to what extent is like a, a creative rut, so to speak? To what extent is that being stuck, or actually like an opportunity to maybe grow or shift things up a bit? So, um, yeah, so I'd say like definitely felt like I almost hit a wall when I moved to different places,
Yeah, yeah,
trying to figure out like okay, what now? Um, but I think just kind of sticking with it and being open to the area, I think is kind of what helps.
yeah, definitely, definitely. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing photographers at the moment?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a lot. I'd say there's, gosh, there's a lot. I'd say. Um, I know, like, there. I think the photography community has, for a while, really found a lot of connection and growth and opportunity on Instagram. But with Instagram trying to be TikTok and Reels, it's putting.
Yeah,
I hear a lot of photographers are quite unhappy, and there's a lot have gone to Twitter and this new app Vero, I think it's called.
yep,
But I think a lot are photographers are struggling to figure out like what platform do we belong, like what's our home base.
mm.
So I've been seeing a lot of that lately. I think it's kind of confusing. Um, I think NFTs I've seen a lot more of, and that's been really fascinating. And it's interesting because that's almost kind of like polarized the photography community in a sense.
Yeah, in a lot of
There's
ways,
one,
yeah.
yeah, one camp that is really like all for it, and the other camp is, really, you know, well, saying some not nice things, or basically calling it a fad or money grab, things like that. So
Yeah. But
I think
I
it's
got to
hard.
say, I don't think that's anything new. I mean, when photography first started, a lot of the painters and whatever said, it's a fad, it'll disappear, and
Uh-huh.
everyone's, everyone was telling stories about, oh, well, it's the end of art as we know it and all the rest of that sort of thing, but it hasn't been.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're right. I think it's just a different set of, um,
Yeah.
maybe obstacles, but same story in a sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think history repeats a lot, unfortunately.
Hmm.
People forget
For
and
sure.
don't learn those lessons.
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting, yeah, how it is, yeah, it's repeating itself now, and
Mm.
um, interesting to think about like you know, where things will go.
Well, talking about that, where do you see the future of photography?
Oh man, gosh, I that's a great question. Honestly, I really don't know. I think, um, yeah, I think the NFT movement is really exciting.
Mm.
For example, I think it's a whole new way for creators, including photographers, to get their work and have it, valued in a whole new, um, traceable way.
Yep.
And I do think there's absolutely something there. I don't know if it's going to look like the way it looks now, but I think there's definitely value to that. Um, Gosh, there a lot of people in Asheville, uh, Asheville is like I mentioned, it's a bachelorette party destination.
Sure.
It's also a big wedding destination. So I know like this area is inundated with wedding photographers
I
and
can imagine there.
yeah. So I think like that, I think that's safe, that there's always going to be a home and a need um, for that. But I think, yeah, I think the future is going to include NFTs. I don't know to what extent. I don't think anything can replace the value of a print, though.
Mm.
That being said, so I guess I don't know, stay tuned. We could maybe touch base in a year or two.
Sounds good. Sounds good. What's the best thing about being a photographer?
Oh, the best thing about being a photographer. I think for for me, I mean, I gotta say, I think it's just the actual process, the actual experience of picking a picking a location,
Yeah.
um, going there, experiencing it, uh, you know, kind of putting your own composition, um, putting kind of your own eye onto the scene, capturing it, and then so I'd say it's that part, but and then also being able to like share a moment with someone,
Yep.
like I was here, I saw this, it was beautiful. Let me share this with you.
Sure.
I think that's the coolest thing. To be honest, it was just at its most basic. Like
Yeah,
it's
definitely. Definitely. What about the worst thing?
the worst thing. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Expensive. Gear breaks. Crack a lens. The getting kind of like having grand plans. That when all the stars seem to align.
Mm.
Um, I, like there have been times where I'll wake up really early, and this when I was in New York City, like get up, take the train, gotta go across town and get to the spot right before the sun rises, and everything was looking great, and then it's just completely like this thick gray cloud cover that is, you're like, if this is not going anywhere, which is
Yep.
completely
There is no color that's grey.
no color to be
Yeah.
found. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those risks, I mean, you take those risks when
Sure.
you commit to going out, and you have hopes, and really you never know. But I guess that's the thrill of it too. But yeah, so I'd
Definitely.
say it's expensive. Sometimes you put a lot into one photo. You can drive hours back and forth to one place, and uh, that's it. You put all that into just one. There's a lot riding on that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What do you like to do when you're not out shooting?
Um, I love hiking. Uh, love just spending time with the dog and two cats.
Yep.
Um, love brewery hopping. It seems like there's a new brewery here like every weekend. So
Nice.
uh, trying a new place. Uh, so that's pretty fun. I'd say, I don't know how it sounds, but to say like my hobby is literally drinking beer, but I guess that's what I'm saying.
I partake in that hobby
Craft
occasionally.
beer.
That and wine. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so, who are the photographers that are catching your eye at the moment that you think I should be talking to?
Oh gosh, yeah. There are a ton that I like really admire. and I'm not even going to be able to do it justice.
Yeah, just 2 or 3 is more than enough.
2 or 3, okay. So uh so it's interesting. I did kind of step into the NFT space a bit last year and met a whole new kind of community of photographers, and it was really cool. Everyone was so supportive. Um, you know, I really had to kind of step away because I was like, it can kind of really suck you in, and I was like conflicted between that and getting my career in psychology started, and
Yep.
not the best timing, but I think I have no regrets, but it was really cool to be a part of that community. So I'd say there's, I think it's his name is Declan, um, Declan something. Declan, though I don't think anyone has a similar kind of handle to that, but
Yep.
He's just very passionate about just photography and the NFT space. He's very, very kind, very caring. I think just exemplifies like a lot of what you'd want in a, photographer, and kind of ahead, just kind of at the forefront of a movement.
Yep.
Brian Miniar,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
feel so bad I'm butchering these names, but I love he's a really cool guy. I haven't met him in person, but we've talked, we connected over NFTs, and I think we have a similar eye in terms of editing style. So we've really connected there, and he seems like just a really down to earth guy. I've always admired Rav something. I'm so bad with names, but his work has always, like from the very beginning when I started photography, I've always admired just how clean and like just kind of I don't know the right word, just very the color palette he uses, and just the compositions and the lines are so crisp. It's just so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know his name on Instagram. It's with Luke. Um, he is some really. I love his color palette too. I'm a
Yeah.
sucker
I've
for
seen some of his work. Yeah.
yeah, a good consistent color palette. I really am drawn to. So I
Yeah.
think he does like such a good job of that. Something I've really admired. So I'd say any of those would be awesome to talk to.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one more question for you today, Mike, and for some that listen, it's the most important one that I ask each week.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Oh man, I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the idea of it. I have had it, and I didn't hate it.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I didn't love it. I wouldn't go back
But
to it,
not a
but
hard no. Yeah.
it's not it's a yeah, a
Which
soft
surprises
no.
me for someone with an Italian surname.
Yeah. I think whatever Italian genes I got, just like the meat, the pepperoni, the sausage, the
Yeah.
more meat I could pile on a pizza. But my brother swears by it, so he
Okay.
must have there must have been some genetic switcheroo or something.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today, Mike. It's been wonderful getting to know you. Where can people find your work and, more importantly, your book when it comes out?
Yeah, so I think right now, the best way to get to me is on Instagram. My handle is MP the Comeback Kid with 1K, because two
Okay.
Ks exceeded the character limit. So MP the Comeback Kid, and on my bio I have a link that just has all my links in one place. And but the first link on there will be the link to the book, which, yeah, I'm really excited about.
Fantastic. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Grant, for everything. Thanks
Pleasure.
for your time.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show, and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at grantswinburnphotography.com. I'm also on Vero, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.